NBA players who were killed. Lorenzen Wright. Wright played in the NBA from 1996 to 2009, best known as a member of the Grizzlies, Clippers, and Hawks. And according to his wife, Wright left his home in Collierville, Tennessee on the night of July 18, 2010 with drugs and an unspecified amount of money, and was not seen or heard from again. His family filed a missing persons report on July 22nd after Wright's body was found on July 28th in the nearby woods of Tennessee. As shady as this is, it gets a lot darker. A 911 call reportedly had been received from his cell phone in the early morning of July 19th.
Hi, Georgetown 911, where's your emergency? Hello? 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 I have nothing but gunshots.
The caller was speaking with the dispatcher when 11 gunshots rang out. The dispatcher did not report the call to her supervisor until 8 days later, hindering the police investigation and resulting in a payout to Wright's family. The case was investigated as a homicide. In 2011, a reward for information related to the killing stood at $21,000. The state of Tennessee contributed $10,000, the city of Memphis and the Memphis Grizzlies each promised $5,000, and Crime Stoppers promised $1,000. And now, here's where it gets interesting. On November 9th, 2017, the gun believed to have been used to murder Wright was found in a Mississippi lake. On the 5th of December 2017, Billy Turner, Shelby County landscaper and church deacon, was taken into custody on first-degree murder charges and held on a $1 million bond. On December 15th, 2017, Wright's ex-wife, Shara Wright Robinson, was, believe it or not, arrested in California in connection with the murder. Shara was a former member of Turner's church. The 7-year investigation into his death was one of the Memphis Police Department's most high-profile unsolved cases. Wright's mother, Deborah, told the Commercial Appeal newspaper that a police official told her that Shara would be charged with first-degree murder, the same charge Turner faces. Deborah said she believes her former daughter-in-law was motivated by money, specifically a $1 million life insurance policy held by Lorenzen Wright. Later, in a 2015 article, Wright's ex-wife explained how she inquired early in the investigation whether she was a suspect. She said, "It was just kind of a person of interest. They said that the list was long and wide and they didn't have any real suspects." Records showed that on August 1st, 2010, Memphis police searched her home and found burned pieces of metal and a letter addressed to Lorenzen Wright, but law enforcement at the time did not say what the items meant to investigators. In 2014, Shara agreed to a confidential settlement of a dispute in circuit court over how she spent the $1 million of insurance money meant to benefit their 6 children. On July 25th, 2019, Shara pleaded guilty to facilitation of first-degree murder in the shooting death of Lorenzen Wright and was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Bryson DeLay, a career journeyman, played his best seasons between 1995 and 1998 as a member of the Pistons, Clippers, and Bulls. He eventually won a ring alongside Michael Jordan in 1997 and allegedly dated Madonna before abruptly retiring in 1999. Oof, man's kind of a big shot, not gonna lie. An avid traveler and sailor, DeLay set out from Tahiti on his boat, the Hakuna Matata, on July 6, 2002, along with his girlfriend, Serena Carlin, his brother Miles DeBoard, and skipper Bertrand Saldo. 2 weeks later, DeBoard returned from sea alone. Following a sting operation, DeBoard was detained by the police. It was soon discovered that he had forged his brother's signature to buy $152,000 of gold. While the Hakuna Matata had been re-registered in Tahiti with patched bullet holes, DeBoard claimed that a fight between he and his brother resulted in Carlin hitting her head on the boat. When the skipper insisted on reporting her death, Bryson killed the man, followed by DeBoard shooting his brother in self-defense. Fearing prison, DeBoard intentionally overdosed on insulin, slipping into a fatal coma. DeLay's body is assumed to have been thrown overboard in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Whew, that one was shocking and gave me thrills at the same time, to be honest. Damn. Bryce Dejean Jones. After going undrafted in 2016, Dejean Jones worked his way up from the D-League before starting 11 of 14 games with the New Orleans Pelicans. Just 3 months after signing a 3-year contract with the team, he became the first NBA player to die following Eddie Griffin's fatal car crash in 2007. Dejean Jones was visiting his girlfriend for his daughter's first birthday, which was Saturday, according to his agent, Scott Nichols. He said the girlfriend returned to the apartment first, while Dejean Jones went for a walk after they had gone out. She lives on the 4th floor, and Dejean Jones, who was visiting the complex for the first time, went on the 3rd. Jones kicked on the front door of what he believed to be his girlfriend's apartment, following an argument they had from when they were out together. He went to the wrong apartment, unfortunately, and I think he thought his girlfriend locked him out, so he was knocking on the door, banging on the door. It's locked. So one thing led to another, said his agent. It is legal in Texas for someone to use deadly force in order to protect themselves from intruders. So as Jones moved into the bedroom where a sleeping resident awoke and fired through the door in self-defense, Dejean Jones was struck in the abdomen and pronounced dead at just 23 years old. Jack Molinas. Molinas played for the Fort Wayne Pistons during the 1953-54 season, earning All-Star honors in what would become his lone NBA campaign after being banned for betting. He was later implicated in the infamous 1961 point-shaving scandal, alongside Connie Hawkins and Roger Brown, serving 5 years in prison for his role, where he supposedly gained ties with the New York mob. In 1973, while awaiting trial for interstate pornography distribution, Molinas was fatally shot in his backyard, just 9 months after the murder of his former business partner, Bernard Gussoff, though the police couldn't rule out a mob-related motive. Bubbles Hawkins. Best known as a member of the Nets from 1976 to 1978, Robert Bubbles Hawkins averaged 19.3 points per game during the 76-77 NBA season following the departure of Julius Erving. However, his career was ultimately short-lived. His body was discovered shot to death in a Detroit crack house in 1993. No one was at the scene, and no one knows who shot him and why. Ozel Jones. Jones played just one full season with the Spurs in 1984-85 before embarking on an overseas minor league career. Following retirement, he opened up a men's big and tall clothing store in California on September 7, 2006. Jones was found by his relatives shot dead in his apartment. He was 45 years old, and according to police reports, Jones bled to death from a single gunshot wound to the upper torso. The investigation on this case currently remains open. Ben Wilson. In spite of all the accolades that were bestowed upon him, Wilson's personal life was growing complicated. During his junior year, he and his girlfriend Jayden Rush conceived a child, and over the summer, Rush gave birth to a boy named Brandon. Almost immediately thereafter, she became withdrawn from Wilson and largely focused on taking care of the baby. Wilson did not fully understand why Rush had pushed him away, and as time went on, it started to have an effect on him. As the school year started, Wilson was beginning to grow more and more frustrated by the situation, and his interactions with Rush became significantly tense, to the point where they were having loud arguments in the school hallways between classes. Wilson's temper eventually would get the best of him, as he shoved a teacher to the floor when the teacher tried to break up another argument between the two. He was said to have only realized what he had done after he did it. As students prepared for lunch on the 20th of November, Wilson elected to try and talk to Rush again, instead of eating with his teammates as he usually did. Once again, Rush was not receptive to his attempts to her. As this was going on, two students from a nearby high school, Billy Moore and Omer Dixon, had made their way to the school. Moore and Dixon had cut school that day, and Moore had a .22 caliber pistol in his possession. Moore's cousin had been robbed of $10, allegedly by a student of Simeon, which was Wilson's high school. Moore brought the gun with him to avenge his cousin. The conflict, however, was resolved before Moore got there. The two boys then decided to hang out for a little while and waited to see if Erica Murphy, Wilson's classmate and a friend of Moore's, was around. Murphy met up with the two boys shortly thereafter, and Moore and Dixon followed her to a luncheonette. Murphy went in alone, while Moore and Dixon chose to wait outside. Meanwhile, Wilson and Rush were walking up towards the luncheonette as well. Behind Moore and Dixon, Wilson was focused almost solely on his girlfriend and never saw Moore standing outside the luncheonette. Thus, Wilson bumped into Moore as he walked by, and Moore yelled up the street at Wilson to watch where he was going. Wilson, now angered, turned and headed back towards Moore. A loud argument broke out. Moore eventually drew the pistol and shot Wilson twice, with one bullet striking his groin and another piercing through his gut. Moore and Dixon fled the scene, with Moore seeking refuge at Murphy's home.